name is Blue the Jaegerist, and yes, I am a real Jaegerist. And today we're going to talk about something that's hopefully not that controversial. We're going to be talking about, we're actually going to be doing more of a traditional video essay, which is the unique brilliance of the corniness of Attack on Titan. So when people think of Attack on Titan, they usually are not thinking of corny. That's usually the last thing to come in mind. And for good reason. We are constantly seeing people being killed in violent ways. There's death and destruction, sacrifice. And then later in season 3, we see racism, xenophobia, and just a general sense of hopelessness. You have to understand that after the basement reveal, that has got to be one of the most hopeless moments in any of their lives. I mean, not that they felt hopeless, but that has got to be the most hopeless moment. Sort of a difference there. If there was a moment to be hopeless, it'd be that one, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not saying that everyone was hopeless. I'm just saying that was the most hopeless moment, right? So I hope that cleared that up. You have to understand, they thought or Aaron thought the entire time that Titans were his only enemy, and that's why he says in the Tron Stark, he says, "Killed by humans, ridiculous." Right? And then he realizes that, oh, it's been humans the entire time, and they're smarter than us. That was one of the big things about Titans, that they're less intelligent, we can beat them, but no, the Titans are just weapons of war, and they're actually being controlled by people who are as smart and smarter than us. So then turns into not only season 3 full of racism and xenophobia and war, it's full of hopelessness because they realize there actually is no end to the cycle of violence, or to end the cycle of violence would be much harder than we initially anticipated. Hey, if you hopped on the stream, welcome. Also, shout out to my German viewer. I don't know, I'm getting it says I'm having a German viewer, so that's kind of nice. But moving on from that, um, but none of this fits with corny. When people think of corny, they usually think of cheesy lines and um well, I'm not going to say that. That's going to spoil the rest of the video. But let's actually dive in to Attack on Titan. Let me explain Attack on Titan in a way that actually makes it sound like it's an incredibly corny show. Because here's the thing: Attack on Titan is about a couple things. It's about forgiveness, love. Actually, forgiveness and love are pretty much the two things that are there. Of course, there's a subsection to the love, so that's why I was going to act like I was going to say more, but I'm actually not going to say more about forgiveness and love. And me saying, Beluga, what are you talking about? How is Attack on Titan about forgiveness and love? And I'm actually not going to bring up 139 in this video because I'm actually making the argument that it was uh, about forgiveness and love before 139, before 139, even 138, even. It was not about love. It was about love before those. So it's like I'm saying, oh, it wasn't about love, and all of a sudden, 139 retroactively made everything about love. No, I'm actually saying before 139, before 138 is actually about love and forgiveness. So basically, what Isayama is trying to say is he's trying to say, forgive people who wrong you and don't turn bitter, right? That's one of the first things he's trying to say. Now, most people, especially the folks on the the Reddit form Jaegerbomb, will probably, like most people, again, I'm not saying this is just for Jaegerbomb, but like most people, they'll be saying that is ridiculous. We should destroy our enemies. We should hurt our enemies. There's no reason why we should let people who are genuinely trying to hurt us. There's no reason why we should forgive them. That'll only make things worse for us. And Isayama actually plays along with our little game, you see, because most shows are naive with this. They usually say, "Oh, you should be forgiving," and another thing that they say in Attack on Titan corny is they say, "Oh, if you kill this person, you'll be just as bad as them. You'll be stooping to their level." Now, I'm going to bring up once again a very, 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 very awful show, which is incredibly corny, and corny by design, like Attack on Titan. That being the awful, awful soap opera that is Once Upon a Time by NBC, one of the worst shows in the history of the world. And there was a scene spoiler warning for a show that's been around for 10 years, but 11 years actually. The funniest actually. Spoiler warning is what I'm trying to say. So Regina, who is the bad guy, very horrible person. I don't need to get into it. She just does a lot of bad things. She gets captured by the heroes, right? And when I say heroes, I do legitimately mean heroes, because I know if we're coming from a Attack on Titan perspective, there really is no heroes. That's why Connie says this. I'm sure you guys all know why I'm emphasizing why Connie said it, but Connie says, it's not like I have any regrets, but did we do the right thing, right? That line is perfect of the condition of the alliance. They're not very good people. They're very, very evil people. They all have blood on their hands, and they are just trying to do the right thing, and they're by no means heroes. Did they do something good for humanity? Yes. Did they do the right thing in that one instance? Yes. But are they heroes? No. But these people are heroes. They're as pure as the driven snow. Nothing is wrong with these people. There's not a fault within them. And they capture this evil woman, and they are going to kill her. And they're going to kill her not only because it's the just punishment for her. She's also a very dangerous person because she's a witch, so she can get out of prison, stuff like that. So it's like you can just lock her away. They're like, oh, if we kill her, and then the hero stops it. It's like, oh, if we do this, we'll be just as bad as her. And I'm sure a lot of sensible people, and if people in Jagerbomb saw that, they'd be yelling at their TV, and I was yelling at my TV, literally saying, what is wrong with you? How will that make you any worse than her? You're punishing her. What is wrong with you? She's an evil person, and she deserves to die. What's the problem, right? And Attack on Titan is the exact same way, right? Only instead of just having the heroine stop it right. It's like an arrow assuming she stops the arrow right before it hits Regina, and we have no further explanation. And Regina's able to gallivant and do exactly what the other people said she would do, and if she would just killed her, things would have been fine from the start. But instead of that nonsense happening, Attack on Titan takes a different perspective. Attack on Titan already, Isayama, already knows what you're going to say. Oh, we're inside of walls? Yeah, we should fight back. Of course we should. He's not going to see, but the point he's trying to make is that, well, it's a little bit more complicated than whether you should or you shouldn't. But let's just for now, say he's trying to say we shouldn't. Okay, I'm not saying that's what he's trying to say. It's much more complicated than that. You can go watch my Is Aaron Free video if you want more context, or you can, or I'll probably explain later on. But I'm saying for now, he's trying to say that you shouldn't go outside the walls. But instead of making the story take place inside the walls and having all the characters develop and realize that they shouldn't go outside the walls, he instead already knows what you're thinking. Oh, Titans taking our freedom? Yeah, let's go kill some Titans and get past these walls. And after we get past the walls, we see more enemies. Oh, let's kill them too, right? And again, these are genuinely evil people. The Marleans. They're genuinely bad people, and they're genuinely doing bad things. And it's not like they'd be in the Elden's being selfish, or Aaron's being selfish for wanting to kill a Titan to get past the walls. As he says, he's born to that world. It is his right to see them, and it is his right. But so Isayama plays along with their little game. Isayama says, "Okay, fine. You want to go outside the walls? You want to kill your enemies? Go for it." And the characters do exactly what we want them to do. I might shoot a video on this maybe later or not, but Attack on Titan is not a hype train. That's my maybe video idea. Attack on Titan is not a hype train. Can Attack on Titan get exciting? 100%. Does it get your blood pumping? Does it get your spine tingling? 100%. But at its core, at its essence, and even outside of its essence, it's not really a hype train. It's not meant to be a hype train. Attack on Titan, the point of Eren being inside the walls, fighting for freedom, is actually supposed to show you what not to do. Again, I am not saying that he does not want Eren to go to the walls. I'm not saying that. Okay, there's much more nuance to it, but for now, I'm just going to say this to simplify it. We're already basically 10 minutes in, so and so he plays your little game. He goes along. He has them fight Titans, right? He has them, make all the sacrifices necessary. Gets as ugly as possible. Gets as realistic as possible. Then they get to the basement. And they get to the basement after sacrificing guilty people, which would be like the Titans and the warriors. And they sacrifice innocent people or good people. Like, well, I wouldn't say Commander Erwin's good, but Commander Erwin, Marco, and so on and so forth.
to get there. So the characters do what we want them to do. Then Aaron goes to Liberio. Now, some of you, this might have been where some of you may have split off a little bit, where you were agreeing with Aaron's actions, but most of us, I think most of us, it's safe to say that most of us were supporting or indifferent to the attack on Liberio. Then it goes along with that, and then he goes and takes it towards a logical conclusion. He's like, okay, here's the setup. Marley's beefing with Eldia. Eldia's beefing with Marley, right? They want, the Marlians want to destroy Parody. Now, what are you going to do about it? Since we're going to go along with your philosophy, since your philosophy has got us thus far, it's got us to the basement, got us to the ocean, what are you going to do now? And of course, we're like, well, most of us, and again, including me, I did not consider the Jaegerist to be funny. I'm legitimately a Jaegerist. I have to say that because some people are claiming I'm not like Jaegers, but that's neither here nor there. We're like, oh, of course, kill them all. That's the right decision. Now, again, me personally, I'm speaking sort of in the fans and sort of logic, and also in Jaeger bomb or Jaegerist, or Archers Titan folk, and I'm also speaking of my personal experience as well. So when I say us or they or them, I'm talking about a lot of different people. But right now, I'm talking about me myself personally. I was like, okay, yes, is the rumbling justified? 100%, absolutely. He is acting like the king of Parody, and the king's job is to protect his country. First priority. That's it. And they're trying to attack him, and there's been not only a lot of nationalism, not only has there been a lot of nationalism between these two countries and the world, there's also been a lot of espionage. That's the thing people don't understand. That's the thing that Jaeger Bomb or r/Titan folk don't mention, and it's a very valid point. There's been a ton of espionage, and what I would always bring up when I was questioning about the morality of the rumbling, especially in regards to killing everybody, I'd say, well, look at Grisha, right? He was an absolute nobody. No one had any idea who he was. And one Grisha snuck in and ruined everything. So we can't have some nationalistic kid who just got his home destroyed, then sneaking in a Parody, infiltrating it, and then, starting a secret organization and then taking it over, right? That cannot happen. So it makes sense. And again, on top of the other espionage, Aaron himself infiltrated Marley, and the Owl infiltrated Marley. So, and speaking, no, I'm not going to go there. But so all this espionage and nationalism, of course, he would have to kill everybody. And of course, I was on board with it. But the thing that separates me from the other Jaegerist, and that made me makes it so that I actually like the ending, is that I had a few questions about it. Well, number one being, do you really have to kill everybody? And yes, what I just brought up was a valid point, but I was like, is that going to really buy you enough time? Because I always thought this is definitely going to buy time. You're not going to stop violence forever. This is definitely going to buy time. And once the Jaeger and once the Eldians, get the little demographics, they're going to get, and when I say demographics, I mean anything. Like, maybe it's blonde-haired Eldians, maybe it's Eastern Eldians, maybe it's, Marleyan Eldians who are now on the continent of Marley. Maybe it's, rich Eldians. Maybe it's, whatever demographic you want to put in. There's always going to be a clash between those two people. And I was like, this is certainly going to have to buy time. And would killing everyone really buy enough time, or as much time as killing 80%, 95%? And the other thing that I thought was, his logic seems to be a bit flawed, because he was saying, the only way to stop the cycle of violence is by stomping into the ground. And I was like, maybe Aaron's being a little bit naive here. But again, I was expecting, and of course I knew Sion, I knew how brilliant and intelligent he is, and I knew how he's a master of not only plot twist, but mystery, and I knew this cannot be the actual thing. He can't be doing this. It has to be some sort of plot twist at the end. It's not going to be like Death Note, where it's they tell you what's going to happen in the last episode, and then it happens. It's going to be a plot twist. And it was, and that's why I think I'm more open to the ending, because I was like, something's wrong here, and it makes more sense now. But he plays along with your little game, and he does the rumbling, and then And then he puts in the panel where Parody is being bombed, and he refused to elaborate on, as to why. And I am fairly certain he will refuse to elaborate in the anime if they even make sense of the anime. I'm gonna say Mappa might not have him put in the anime because most people it's not uh, consumable for the masses. But if they do put it in, I promise you they're not going to elaborate on it at all. So he refuses to elaborate on this on why it was a war, and of course he refused to elaborate for the same reason. And yes, this has to do with the time being corny. Trust me. He refuses to elaborate for the same reason why they say why Aaron says and why it's brought multiple times. Did the war start here with the restorationists? Did it start with the pigs? Did it start with well, you know what? It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. War is war, and violence is going to happen regardless. So now you're like, wait a second. I thought violence was the answer. I thought if someone steps my, I thought if someone, threatens me, I should be able to kill them. What? How come this isn't working? Right? And then along the way, and at the end, Isayama makes it clear what we can do. Now, he says, and since this world has no God, this is actually the only viable solution. And we know that this world has no God because, well, A, he's never mentioned. Well, he's mentioned one time. And B, the song, Crimson Bow and Arrow, the very first song is something like "Don't waste your breath on prayers," or "Prayers aren't going to solve anything," or something along those lines, right? I'm pretty sure you guys don't know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just look up the lyrics and you'll see it there. And so obviously there's no God in this universe, and prayers are not going to do anything. Of course, that is why I make this the separation. Again, this is a very, very nuanced subject, but in this regard, I make a separation between the real world and our world, because obviously, our world has a God and has supernatural forces that change people. So that is why, it's a little bit different in our world, but in their world, the cycle of violence will literally never end. And why should it? Seriously, why should it? But what he says is, okay, well, cycle of violence is never going to end. And obviously in our world, that's a principle. I showed you guys last video how many, ongoing civil wars there were. In fact, the Great African War is technically still in continuation. That would be, the Congo Civil War. We have, Israel and Palestine. We have Yemen and Saudi Arabia. We have the finishing war. This war's almost over anyway, but you have Russia and Ukraine, which somehow made it to restream. I'm not going to comment on that, but whatever, the wars that are going on, and how continually history is a cycle of war, vengeance. But what does he say? But what does Isayama say? So this man says, okay, well, we know the war is going to happen, not only in our world, but in the real world, not only in the real world, but in our world, because Armin says it, Aaron says it, and Erwin says it. So the person who's doing the rumbling says it, Erwin says it as a foreshadow and theme, and then Armin says it after the rumbling's complete, right? So, and I think Colt alluded to it. Colt didn't say it as explicitly as Armin and Aaron did, but Colt did pretty much insinuate. He implied it because he said the devil's in all of us. That's why the world is the way that it is, which obviously implicate that no matter what generation or what the circumstances are, there will always be war. But again, it doesn't say it explicitly. But what does Isayama say? What does Isayama say? Does he take the A&R route and say, on blood this will end? No. He says, guys, you ready to hear my solution now? Here's a solution. Number one, even though the world and your life are bad and always will be bad, or have bad elements in them, you can still find genuine happiness in small, trivial things. There are still things that make this place beautiful. For example, for some people, it's playing baseball. For some people, it's reading a good book. So on and so forth. Fill in the blank, right? And that's solution. That's corny aspect number one. That's a real corny thing to say. I mean, could you imagine if Carla or Grisha or anyone any character came to Aaron and said, "Hold on, bro. I know you're born into this world and all that stuff, but have you ever started to think, you know, that market has pretty good fried dough?" Aaron's like, "What? What does that have to do with Titans?" He's like, maybe perhaps maybe eating that fried dough would be freedom for you. Maybe eating that fried warm summer day under the shade of a tree. Maybe that's freedom. Maybe that's true happiness. That'd be the corniest crap you've ever heard, right? And just put yourself in the mindset of season one. Just put that crazy music, put those crazy visuals in your head, get your blood pumping, and then imagine a character saying that. They'd be a laughing stock, and that's why they're not in season one. That's why he waits until the third to last chapter to bring this up, because then the entire thing plays out, and you're like, well, what are we supposed to do? And so that is a solution. Now, the other thing, which is sort of related to this, is while conflict will never end in that world, it is still worth it to fight for peace. Again, sort of the same concept, because again, it's sort of like, well, peace is sort of trivial, and we know it's trivial because of Titan folks' reaction to the last page. It's like, oh, Aaron did this all for nothing, blah, blah, blah. So he's saying that peace is in some ways trivial, because there's probably already an ongoing war while peace is happening, and anytime you have a peaceful conclusion to a conflict will inevitably start up again. Whether it's 2 years, whether it's 20 years, whether it's 200 years, that conflict will start all over again. People were still alive. George Washington was probably, I don't know, but I know when did he die? It doesn't matter. John Adams was still alive when we fought the British for the second time. We fought them in 1774, I think is what it was. And then we fought them 1775, and then we fought them in 1812, right? So it's like, well, did John Adams and well, John hasn't done anything, but were George Washington's efforts in vain, right? I mean, John Adams didn't even get to die before they saw the British invade the country again, right? And then the Civil War happened, right? And then the Vietnam War, I can go on, but it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, peace is sort of, in that sense, trivial, but it's still worth fighting for. Now, why is it worth fighting for? Why is peace worth fighting for? It's because of the children. Think of the children. Again, how corny. We need to protect the children. It could be sort of this macho thing, but it's also portrayed in this incredibly soft-worded way. It says we need to get the children out of the forest. But how? How do we get children out of the forest? That is the cycle of violence. We forgive people. We burden the sins of the past, right? I think it says in Luke somewhere. I know it says. I don't know if it's in Luke or not. It says, "He who forgives little loves little," right? And that is exactly what is reiterated in Attack on Titan. Now, what does the owl say? Right? I'm connecting this back to the forest thing. Don't worry, I'm not going off on a tangent here. The owl says, he says, "Love someone inside the walls, unless we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. If you want to save Mikasa and Armin and everyone else, you will complete your mission." And then Sasha's father says, "It's our responsibility as adults to burden the sins of the past and get the children out of the forest." And that's how all three of those things connect. And one of the biggest things that separate me from other Jaegers is I had the exact same face that Sasha's father had, or Mr. Browser, I probably should call him. That was the exact same way when the military was shown. I was like, man, this is really disappointing. This is kind of sad. But you know what? It makes sense. What else were they supposed to do? They're sort of ignorant. In a way, but I don't want to call them ignorant because it's a very logical conclusion to come to. But it's sort of sad. Like, we're still having the military still to do with violence. People are still going to have to kill each other. But hey, what did you expect? The situation they're in was wild. And I had the exact same face. And so did my brother. Nearly exact. And again, we were big Aaron. Still are big Aaron fans. Post time skip and destroy all my enemies and all that other stuff. we're big pro rumbling people, but we still had the nuance and emotional intelligence and wisdom to make the same face that Sasha's father made. But we're like, hey, you know what? I mean, that's what we have to do. And so Ismail's solution the entire time was to forgive through love, sort of, right? Guys, that is the message of Attack on Titan. Forgive through love so that you can enjoy your life. That is the message of Attack on Titan, literally. I'm not making this up. I'm not construing the narrative, right? That's why Mikasa's maxim that she's been saying since the beginning was the world is cruel, but also beautiful, right? Yes, it's horrible. Yes, your parents got killed, but she still has that scarf around her, and that still reminds her of a loving, comforting person, sibling or otherwise, whatever you want to call that. That's still a incredibly beautiful thing in a very dark and cold place. And again, I'm not going to bring up 139, but well, I mean, I will, but I probably will say that for later. So that is the message of it, and that's why she said that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? So that is what the main message. Now on to the love aspect. We're gonna dive into the love more. The main character's motivation is love. Now, no, you're gonna say, Beluga, you're breaking the rule. You said we're gonna break up 139, or you said we're gonna bring up 139 as a disclaimer. I am not bringing up 139. I'm actually not. I'm actually bringing up one of the first arcs. I think this is actually technically still a training arc when Armin is swallowed by a Titan. And what does freedom fighting Eren do? The person who cares about his freedom more than anything else. What does he do? Oh, that's right. He goes into the Titan's mouth, grabs him, throws him out, and then gets swallowed himself. Interesting. Interesting that the person who loves freedom the most just sacrificed everything to protect Armin. Interesting. But this was his secret motivation since the beginning. Again, I'm not going to tell 139, but this main character has constantly been driven by love. Then we see in the season 2 finale, the finale of the show, right? An important scene, nothing else. The finale of season 2. We've been waiting 4 years for this. And what happens? Eren is not only carrying Mikasa, which is, sort of corny in itself, but I mean, hey, it's battle, we're all rough and carry shoulders on our backs, never leave a man behind. Okay, but we go in, and he is stunned by how utterly worthless he is after Hannes just got killed in front of his eyes, just like his mom did. And what motivates him to fight again? Oh, it's Mikasa. Again, whether it's, I'm not saying what type of love it is, I'm not bringing up 139, but he definitely loves something there. And the editor was instructed that Isayama instructed the editor to make the anime to make it look as cute as possible. That's definitely not corny at all. And she says what has been said of Mikasa and Eren's relationship pre-139. Mikasa taught Eren how to love. Eren taught Mikasa how to live. So she thanks him for all this. She thanks him right from the scarf around her. And what does he say? What comes out of Eren's mouth? You would think this is Prince Charming talking to Snow White from the aforementioned Once Upon a Time. But no, this is Eren, freedom fighting, kill all my enemies, Jaeger, talking to Mikasa. He says, I will always wrap that scarf around you. And motivated by whatever sort of love that is, goes and faces his certain death head on, only to have plot armor bail him out, or so we think. Then we move on to the train scene, in which Eren says that I'm pretty sure he actually says, I love you guys, or he says, he says, you're the most important. He says, you guys are the most important people to me, more than anyone else. Interesting how he says that. And now my disclaimer has been finished, and I actually will be talking on 139. So if you don't like this, you can do what you guys always do and just stick your fingers in your ears like children. But in 139, it is revealed that Eren's romantic love for Mikasa has been the driving factor of his actions the entire time. Am I saying that was the only factor? Absolutely not. Go watch my Aaron Goals videos and go watch my Aaron Always Cared for His Friends video, part 1 and part 2, if you want to know my full thoughts on that. And if you are not satisfied, you can email me. My email's there. You can comment on my video. You can look at my post on beluga_the and you can talk to me there. Now, it is revealed that is the driving factor for his love. And in an alternate reality, it shows what would have happened. And again, I'm not going to be arguing about this now. We'll argue about this later. But let's just go along, contextualize with me for a little bit. So what he does is he shows an alternate reality. If he would have known that Mikasa loved him, he would have gone along, abandoned everything, let Armin and let Parody fall, but have been with Mikasa and have been truly happy and free. And we know this is not Mikasa's dream. Quick side note, we know this is not Mikasa because he said throw away the scarf, and it's obviously not Mikasa talking. Now, so this is an incredibly beautiful story that's being written here from page 1 to page, I don't know what the last page, from page 1 to the last page, from the first page to the last page. And then one of the coolest character arcs happen when Aaron posthumously finishes his character arc. Now, Mikasa is a complete disaster. The love story, the tragic love story, still isn't finished. She's been on her ass the entire time, whining and moping about Aaron being gone. She even writes on his grave, "Here lies my most beloved," and spends a concerning amount of time near that grave, probably only getting up occasionally to drink water. And what happens? Aaron finally, how this happens, I don't know, but Aaron finally understands that Mikasa loves him and he loves her back, and her scarf slips, and finally Aaron comes and they have a mutual understanding of their love for each other posthumously. And Aaron swoops down, picks up the scarf, and then she says, "Thank you for wrapping the scarf around me." Oh, beautiful. And by the way, that's the Betsu Show and Jump ending. That's the ending he chose for Betsu Show and Jump. He could have chose anything else. He could have rearranged it however he wanted to do, because he knew he was going to write more in the Tokuban, and he knew he was going to make more presumably for the anime. But that is how he decides to end it. Think about that. He could have ended it any way he wanted to. Well, not anyway, but he could have ended it however he wanted to, for the most part. But he ends it like that because their love has been the main motivator for Aaron the entire time, and love is actually the solution to all of their problems in the show, as I just mentioned prior. So I hope that explains how Attack on Titan is brilliantly corny, and how it is wonderful and really applicable to our day-to-day lives, and how Isayama is a freaking mastermind. Anyway, thank you for staying on. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Where's the end stream button? There it is.